Hello and welcome. My name is Natty Cash, and we are continuing into our series of the Ultimate March Madness Tournament. If you have yet to watch this, please look in the description and go all the way to part 1. We are already out to part 15, so if you don't want any spoilers about what's happened so far, please go and watch part 1 and watch through the series in its entirety up to the point of part 15 here. But if you've been tuning in while I've been posting these, let's take a look at where we are and where we're going today. So what we saw in our last video was Pittsburgh, our number 3 seed from the Midwest region, becoming our regional champions and moving on to our Sweet 16. Today we are going through and going to determine who is coming out of the Great Plains region. Let's take a look at the bracket. So, when we look at the Great Plains region, our number 1 seed is going to be the Creighton Blue Jays out of the Big East, a 25-10 overall record, good enough for second in that league. They had unfortunately lost early to Providence in their conference tournament, but let's see what they can do sitting as a number 1 seed in this tournament. They will await a 16 seed play-in, which will be either the Lehigh Mountain Hawks or the Eagles from Florida Gulf Coast. The Mountain Hawks are a 14-18 team out of the Patriot League, good enough for 6th in their league. They went on a pretty solid run to get to their conference finals, but lost out to Colgate in the end. And the Eagles of Florida Gulf Coast are from the Atlantic Sun region, a 14-18 record, good enough for 7th in their league. So we'll see what comes of these two teams up against each other. Next, we move on to our number 9 seed, which is the Bobcats of Ohio, a 20-13 record out of the MAC conference, good enough for 3rd in their region. And they will be up against the number 8 seed, the UNC Wilmington Seahawks. They are out of the Coastal Athletic region with a 21-10 record, good enough for 4th in that region. Lost out to Charleston in their league conference championships. Let's see what they can do sitting in that 8th position. Next, we go down to our number 5 seed, which is the Memphis Tigers, a 22-10 record out of the American Conference, 5th in their league. They unfortunately lost out early to Wichita State in their conference tournament. Let's see what they can do sitting in a strong 5th position. They will have to wait their next matchup, which is a play-in game for the 12th seed, which will be either the Texas Rio Grande Valley team out of the WAC conference. The Vaqueros have a 6-25 record towards the bottom of the WAC conference, but let's see if they can turn things around here. They'll have to face the Little Rock Trojans, a 21-13 record out of the Ohio Valley Conference. That was good enough for 1st in that region. Unfortunately, they had lost out early to Morehead State and did not become conference champions. So we'll see if they can redeem themselves in this position. The 13 seed is another play-in matchup where we have Louisiana Monroe, the Warhawks of the 11-19 record out of the Sun Belt. Towards the bottom of the Sun Belt region, 12th in that region. Let's see what they can do here up against the Evansville Purple Aces, a 17-18 team out of the Missouri Valley region, good enough for 10th in that region. Let's see who can come out of that matchup. And whoever does will have to face the number 4 seed, the Northwestern Wildcats. A 22-12 record out of the Big Ten was good enough for 4th in their conference. Let's see what they can do in a strong number 4 seed. As we flip over to the bottom half of the bracket, we are going to start with our number 2 seed, which is going to be the New Mexico Lobos, a 26-10 record out of the Mountain West region. That was only good for 6th in league play. However, they went all the way, beating Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, all the way to a conference champions. So conference champions of our Mountain West region, New Mexico. Let's see what they can do in a strong number 2 seed position. They're awaiting a 15th seed matchup, which is either the Bucknell Bison from the Patriot League, with a 14-19 record that was good enough for 5th in their region, eventually lost out to Colgate in their conference tournament. They will have to play the Cal State Fullerton Titans, a 14-18 record from the Big West, still only getting 9th in their conference tournament, but we'll see what they can do sitting in a play-in game for 15th. Then we take a look down, and in our 7th seed, we have the UCLA Bruins, a 16-17 record, only good enough for 5th in the Pac-12, and lost out to Oregon in conference tournament play. Let's see what UCLA can do. This would normally be a lower seed than we would normally see this team, but a 7th seed, maybe they can create some upsets. They will be up against the number 10 seed, which is the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns, a 19-14 record out of the Sun Belt, good enough for 5th in their conference in league play. As we continue down, we have the number 6 seed, the St. Bonaventure Bonnies, a 20-13 record, good enough for 7th out of the Atlantic 10. We'll see what they can do sitting in 6th. They will await their next matchup, which is a play-in game between the 11th seeds, which is going to be North Carolina A&T, the Aggies coming out of the Coastal Athletic Conference, the 7-25 record, only good enough for 12th in that region. We'll see what they can do here up against Kent State and the Golden Flashes, a 17-17 record out of the MAC region, good enough for only 8th in that conference. However, they did upset Toledo and beat Bowling Green and only lost out by 1 point to Akron to become conference champions. So they could make some surprises here sitting in that 11th seed. As we look down, our last play-in game that we'll see is going to be the Jackson State Tigers, a 15-17 record team out of the SWAC region, up against the Milwaukee Panthers with a 20-15 record. That was good enough for 6th in the Horizon Conference, and they did a nice run, beating Detroit Mercy, Green Bay, and Northern Kentucky all the way to barely lose out to Oakland in the conference tournament final. Lastly, we see our number 3 seed. It's going to be filled by Wake Forest, the Demon Deacons, with a 21-14 record out of the ACC. That was good enough for 5th in their conference tournament. Let's see what they can do sitting in a strong number 3 seed position. So this is a look of the entire region, of the Great Plains region. Take a look and see who do you think is going to win this tournament or this region. Please put your comments down below, and we will then run through one at a time to see who is coming out as our Great Plains region champion. We are going to start off with the Mountain Hawks from Lehigh up against the Eagles from Florida Gulf Coast. And we see the Mountain Hawks of Lehigh getting the victory here. Very close battle, back and forth, number of lead changes, and even into the second half, Florida Gulf Coast had a significant lead, but Lehigh fought back and were able to take the lead and work to get a 10-point victory in the end. So Lehigh do move on, and they'll have to face Creighton in their next matchup. Further down, we have another play-in game between Texas Rio Grande Valley and the Trojans from Little Rock. And it is the Vaqueros from Texas Rio Grande Valley that get the victory here. They are leading mostly the entire time. Even though Little Rock tried to push in the first half to get and got a small lead, it was the Vaqueros that had enough to get the victory in the end here. And so it is Texas Rio Grande Valley that move forward and will have to face Memphis in their next matchup. Our next play-in game will be the Warhawks from the Louisiana Monroe University and the Evansville Purple Aces. And we do see the Warhawks get the victory here. It was back and forth. ULM had most of the lead in the first half, although at about halftime, Evansville had about a 5-point lead, but the Warhawks had enough to then get the lead back in the second half and get a 9-point victory in the end. So it is Louisiana Monroe that get the victory, moving into that 13 seed position. They will have to face the Northwestern Wildcats in their next matchup. We then take a look at the bottom half of the bracket, and our next play-in will be the Bucknell Bison up against the Titans from Cal State Fullerton. And we do see Bucknell getting the victory here. A tight game again, many lead changes in the first half and nearly tied at halftime. But a surge by Bucknell was able to get them ahead of the Titans in the second half and work their way to an 8-point victory. So we do see Bucknell moving into that 15 seed position. We'll have to face the New Mexico Lobos in their next matchup. Further down, we have another play-in matchup, which will be the Aggies from North Carolina A&T up against the Kent State Golden Flashes. And we see here it is the Aggies that get the victory here. They take the lead early on, and Kent State has nothing that they can do to really close that gap. Maybe towards the end they push, but it's too little too late as the Aggies move on to the next round. And we see North Carolina A&T move forward to play St. Bonaventure in their next matchup. Our last play-in game will be between the Jackson State Tigers and the Panthers from Milwaukee. And in a very close matchup, it is Jackson State that get the victory here. Looks like they were leading most of the first half and up by about 7. Milwaukee did well to work hard in the second half and get the lead, but then it was back and forth all the way until Jackson State get the victory in the end. And so with Jackson State moving on, this is our top 16 teams in the Great Plains region. We'll start again from the top to see who moves on to our quarterfinals, starting off with the Blue Jays from Creighton up against the Lehigh Mountain Hawks. And we do see the Blue Jays take care of business here. They take a lead early on and build on that substantially to get a comfortable victory in their first round. And so our number 1 seed Creighton does move forward. They'll be awaiting their next matchup, which is either the Ohio Bobcats or the Seahawks from North Carolina Wilmington. And we do see the Seahawks of North Carolina Wilmington get the victory here. It was close towards the beginning, but Wilmington had the lead and continued to build onto it as they had a comfortable victory in the end to move forward to the next round. And so the Seahawks move into a quarterfinal matchup with Creighton. Further down, we have our Memphis Tigers up against the Vaqueros from Texas Rio Grande Valley. And we do see the Tigers take care of business here with a substantial victory. Although early on the Vaqueros had a lead, it was the Tigers that came back and made it a relatively 10-point comfortable victory at halftime and then pushed on to make it substantial victory in the end. And we see the Memphis Tigers with the victory moving into the quarterfinals. Next, we have the Louisiana Monroe Warhawks up against the Wildcats from Northwestern. And we do have the Wildcats with the victory here. First half was actually relatively close. We have the Wildcats leading, but it was only about a 4-point victory at halftime. They were able to push forward a little bit harder in the second half and make it a comfortable victory to move to the quarterfinals. So we see Northwestern moving on and will face Memphis in a quarterfinal matchup. Now we'll move to the bottom half of the bracket where we have our number 2 seed, the New Mexico Lobos, up against the Bison from Bucknell. And we do see the Lobos getting the victory here. They took the lead early on and had about a 13-point lead, 12-point lead at halftime, and maintained that all the way to their first victory in this tournament. And so New Mexico move on and will play a quarterfinal matchup. It'll be either against the Bruins from UCLA or the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. And it is the Bruins from UCLA that move forward here. Louisiana had a lead for most of the first half, and maybe were only down by 2 at halftime, but UCLA were able to close that gap and then push forward to get a victory in the end. And so UCLA move on and will have a quarterfinal matchup with New Mexico in the next round. Further down, we have the Bonnies from St. Bonaventure up against the North Carolina A&T Aggies. And we do see the Bonnies with the victory here. They have the lead given to the Aggies early on, but with a strong offensive showing, they take the lead and then continue to burst forward to get a comfortable victory in the end. So we do see the Bonnies move into a quarterfinal matchup. They will have to play either the Jackson State Tigers or the Demon Deacons from Wake Forest. And it is Wake Forest that take care of business here. They take a lead early on and push forward all the way to a comfortable victory over Jackson State to move to the regional quarterfinals. So with Wake Forest moving forward, we have each of our quarterfinals set. No big surprises to get to this point, but maybe we'll see some as these play out. Starting with the Blue Jays from Creighton up against the Seahawks from North Carolina, Wilmington. And Creighton do very well to take care of business, putting 103 points on the board. They take the lead early and push all the way to a comfortable victory over the Seahawks. So Creighton move into a semifinal matchup. They will be playing either the Memphis Tigers or the Northwestern Wildcats. And in a close matchup, it is Memphis that get the victory here. Northwestern had a lead early on in the game, but Memphis took over, and by about halftime, they had a 5-point lead. They continued that lead all the way through the second quarter, and even though their offense sputtered at the end, they were able to hold on for a 3-point win to move to our regional semifinals. And with Memphis moving forward, we have our first semifinal matchup set. We'll move down the bracket to see the Lobos of New Mexico and see if they can move forward against the UCLA Bruins. And we do see the Lobos getting the victory here. They led early on and led by a good amount, by like 8 or so at halftime, but continue to hold on to get a 10-point victory in the end. So we see New Mexico moving forward into a semifinal spot. They will face either the St. Bonaventure Bonnies or the Demon Deacons from Wake Forest. And we do see Wake Forest taking care of business and getting the victory here. It was a back and forth game throughout the first half, and St. Bonaventure actually had a 7-point lead at around halftime, but Wake Forest was able to pull ahead in the second half and maintain that all the way to a reasonable victory to move to our semifinals. So we see Wake Forest moving into the semifinals, and we have our semifinal matchup set. Our first one we are going to determine to see who makes it to our finals will be the Creighton Blue Jays up against the Memphis Tigers. And it is Creighton that were able to take care of business here. They get the lead early and build on it substantially all the way to a comfortable 30-point victory in the end. And so our number 1 seed Creighton do make it to the region finals here. Let's see who their opponent will be. Will it be the Lobos from New Mexico, or is it the Wake Forest Demon Deacons? And it is Wake Forest that get the victory here. A close game, back and forth, many lead changes. But it is Wake Forest that start to get a big lead, as big as 14 points in the second half. Although they had some offensive struggles, New Mexico were able to pull it to within 2, but could not pull away with the victory. And it is the Demon Deacons that move on to our regional finals. And here we have it. We have our regional finals set up. We have the Creighton Blue Jays and we have the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. This is the 4th time in our tournament where we have a 1 seed versus a 3 seed. The 1 seed has won twice. The 3 seed has won once. So it could be an even matchup here. Let us see who our Great Plains region champion is going to be. And we do see that Creighton are the Great Plains region champions. The number 1 seed led this throughout its entire game. And never looked back and got a comfortable win to move into the Sweet 16. Congratulations to Creighton. And so we see Creighton moving into our Sweet 16. Creighton are the, number one seeds do we have now? We have 5 number one seeds with Creighton's admission into the Sweet 16, and Creighton is also the only representative of the Big East that has made it this far at this point. So congratulations to them. Thank you so much for watching. We are going to tackle the Texas region in our next video. If you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe. I appreciate all of those activities that happen to this channel. I will then see you again soon. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk again. Bye for now.